Well, hello everyone. Welcome to In Studio Live, the 60th edition. This is week 52. We have almost completed a whole year of weekly live streams. It seems incredible that it was a year ago when I was playing around with learning how to do live streams, learning how to just get a camera signal out to the outside world and doing a few little tests. And then a week later, I did the very first live stream. But we'll talk about that next week. We're going to just get started with the live stream. Now, you may notice I'm holding my phone here. I'm trying something out tonight, so it could go horribly wrong. No, I don't think it will. There's a piece of technology called Stream Deck, which, amongst other things, allows you to control live streams. That's what it was designed for, but you can also use it to control things like Lightroom, Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve, things like that. And I've ordered the box. It's not due for a few days yet, but I've also discovered they have an app version where you can do exactly the same thing but on an app. And I know you probably can't see it, but there's a lot of buttons on there, and each of those buttons controls different bits of my live stream. So I can advance the slides from here rather than the keyboard. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, let's go back. It's a big deal because I can stack actions. And you may remember on some occasions when I wanted to pull Lightroom up onto the screen, I had to say, right, just a minute, let me get Lightroom on the screen here, then I can switch over to it. I can now automate all that. And believe it or not, if this works, I'm not going to do anything with Lightroom tonight, but just to see whether this all works, at a single press of a button, it should load Lightroom onto my screen. Once it's loaded, then switch it out. So there we go, Lightroom over my shoulder, and back to the presentation. Haven't yet got it to get rid of that off the screen yet, but we're getting there. It would be a lot better when I've got the proper hardware to do it rather than trying to do it through an app on my phone, but it's the same technology. So anyway, that's why I'm holding the phone tonight. Next week, or whenever I get it, it'll be a little box on the desk with little buttons on it with all the icons on and all. Anyway, I enjoy playing with technology. Right, let's get on with the show, shall we? Instead of me waffling on like this. And if you are new here, please don't be put off by me waffling. But if you are new, take a moment and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Take a moment to comment on the videos when you are viewing them on the channel, and please hit the like button. How are we doing? We're on 8 likes so far. Can we beat our record of 17 by the end of my intro? Well, it's getting harder because numbers on Sunday are a little bit lower than they used to be when we set that time, when we hit that record. And also, my intros are getting shorter. Believe it or not, they are genuinely getting shorter. And as ever, thank you to everyone who's been sharing links to the show. Next Sunday, special recap show, looking back over a year of live streams. So that's something special to look forward to. And in case you don't know, they are twice weekly shows at the moment. I'm going to talk about this a little bit tonight, but mostly next Sunday, about whether we continue twice weekly. And I don't know what the answer to that one's going to be. That's going to be based on some input from yourselves, and I'm going to talk about that in a little while as well. But the Sunday ones are primarily tutorial and Q&A focused. So that's what we're mainly doing on a Sunday night. But on a Wednesday, we've got our feedback session where I look at your images and give you hopefully useful feedback on them, ways to improve and to confirm when things are good in the images, so that you get that objective third-party view on your photography to help you make better photos as time goes on. If you aren't aware of it, I have a Facebook group, and the link to that is over my shoulder. Please go and join there. Especially important tonight, because at about 8:15, as we're going towards the end of the live stream, I'm going to post something there that you need to go and have a look at and follow the link to. I'm posting it at the end of the live stream, not at the beginning. I don't want you all going off straight away. But the Facebook group is a great place for you to share your photos and to get feedback on them there and then. Ask questions. A number of people have been putting in before and after images recently, and that's fantastic. I really encourage that, before processing and after processing as a single post, so that we can see what you've done to the image to get to that end result. That's really good. So a bit more of that. And there's another reason I'm mentioning that, which I'm not going to explain fully at the moment, but will become obvious when we have our next group challenge. And that's one of the other things which happen in the Facebook group. We have photo challenges periodically through the year. We've really just come to the end, or coming to the end, of the photo bingo challenge. A few people still taking part on that, and that is fantastic. You don't have to complete it all in a couple of months. You can do that challenge throughout the year and keep posting your images there. That is absolutely brilliant. It's also, as I say, where there's info about the live stream and challenges and things going on there. So it's a great place to just generally hang out. And just in case you don't know, these shows stay on YouTube in full for quite a while, so you can always go back and catch some of the older ones. I'm going to be talking about one of the older ones later, and advising that you look at it if you haven't seen it already. Then eventually there'll be cut down versions, and the full versions go into my academy, but there will always be extracts both here and on the Learn Lightroom channel, and potentially on the travel channel, although so far I haven't got anything that immediately fits onto the travel channel for what we're doing with the live streams. And if you find the streams helpful, how are we doing, by the way? 11 likes. That's okay. We're getting there. If you do find the live streams helpful and you want to say thank you in a financial way, then you can always buy me a cup of tea. And how do you buy me a cup of tea? Well, you can follow this link, buymeatea.com /Ian Butty. It's basically buy me a coffee that the YouTubers use, but I don't drink coffee. And as my way of acknowledging everyone who has bought me cuppas, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has, especially to the person who bought me a sizable number of cuppas earlier this week in recognition of the 10 years of Ian's studio. So thank you very, very much to that person. I won't embarrass you by naming you specifically, but you know who you are. So thank you very much for that. And for tonight's cuppa, cheers, Kev. Thanks for the tea. All right, moving on. Yeah, one other thing that we do in the Facebook group is I've got a photo of the week, which will be the banner in the group each week. And we're just coming to the end of the week of Bernard Robinson's photo, which is this rain droplets one, which he says is inspired by one of the inspiration sheets within my academy. So there you go. Join the academy and you'll get one of your images on the Facebook page, maybe. So thank you, Bernard, for that. And the next week's will be announced at the very end of this live stream. Right. So Walter has said, actually, yes, Walter has said 73% likes, maybe aim for 80%. Well, I'm going to task you, Walter, to keep an eye on those percentages, because it's hard enough to actually control the technology, keep an eye on the chat and talk all at the same time without trying to do mathematics as well. I often describe doing a solo live stream like this as like trying to pat your head and rub your tummy at the same time whilst reciting Hamlet. It is very much multitasking when you're trying to do it. So, yeah, we've got the next one will be revealed at the end of the show. So, will it be yours? Next cover image. I have a newsletter, and either later tonight or tomorrow, a new one will be going out because there's something I need to get out to the people who are on the distribution list. And if you want to sign up for that, there's the link over my shoulder. It's also down below in the description here. So, what have we got on the show tonight? Well, we've got live Q&A, so you better come up with some nice live questions for me, because we haven't got any at the moment. I'm going to talk about this survey that I'm doing. This is the key thing that's going to lead into next week's live stream. And I'm going to talk about that. And then we've got our main topic for the night, which is all about posing people. And this is the second part in a series I'm doing about posing. And a lot of it's focused towards studio work, but it's not exclusive for that. You'll see some outdoor images, and the techniques I talk about are equally true for anybody that you are photographing, whether it's your nearest and dearest or a model in the studio. The techniques do apply across everybody on that. Right, well, have we beaten the record? We've got 16 concurrent viewers, so the answer is no, but we've got 11 likes, so 73% likes. Remember that, Walter. I'm going to ask you what that is next Sunday, what that percentage figure is, because I will have forgotten by then on that. So, moving on. Right. Live Q&A. We haven't got any questions at the moment, but if you have got any, stick them in the live chat. If you're watching this on replay, stick them in the comments. I will pick them up. I will respond to everything there, and I will answer them on a future live stream. So that will definitely be happening. But do remember, there is a bit of a delay with all this, that you hear me about 30 seconds or so after I've spoken, which means, as far as I'm concerned, there is the way it appears to you is that I don't get your messages for about 30 seconds after you think you've sent them. Anyway, there is a delay. Just that's all you need to know on that. If you want to email me during the week with questions, contact me at ians-studio.co.uk and I will pick up those questions. And this survey, yeah, what I'm doing is, because next week is the 1 year anniversary of the live stream. We've been doing this for a year, as I said in the intro. I want to just sort of look back. And I want to find out, of all the different things that we've done as part of this live stream, what's working, what's helping you the most, and what's worked in terms of length of live stream, because we've had some really long ones and some quite short ones. What's working in terms of whether it's twice a week or once a week on there, what you're actually looking for, folks. But I don't want to restrict this to just the people who are watching tonight, because that would only be 16 of you. So this is why I've done it as a survey, and I'm going to post the link in the Facebook group so that I can get a good feel for how things are and what you folks are responding. So I've got a pretty good idea already, but I'd like to try and quantify it to make sure that what I think is happening and what I think is working is the things that are working on there. So it'd be really helpful if you could do that. That's actually the link to it on the screen behind me now. It's SurveyMonkey, but I don't want you to do it now. I want you to do it later. So I'm posting the link in the Facebook group at about 8:15. It should automatically come up there at that time, which, if my reckoning is right, that should be round about the time we're just beginning to wind down here. So let's move on to our topic for tonight, posing. Excuse me. Right, so as I said, it's second part of a series on this. Well, I suppose it's also, you could look at it as being third part, because whilst officially part one was this one, Posing People, and the link's there for you to go and watch it, but I did do one called Quirky Portraits previously, so it is all part of that. But if you're watching this on the replay, and if you haven't seen part one, do go and track it down. It is still there in full on the channel. Go and have a watch of that before you watch this one, because it does kind of follow on. If you're watching this live, don't go and leave the live stream, please. Instead, go and watch it afterwards. It is worth that. There's a little bit of overlap, but very, very little actually. There's a couple of things which we'll refer to between the two. And the vast majority of things that I covered in that first one, I'm not covering again in this one. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention. So we're picking this up on the idea about posing couples at this point. And one of the mistakes that I see with people when they are posing a couple is this space between them, and it tends to make it look as though there's a bit of a rift between them. It always looks better if the couple are such that their heads appear to be touching each other. They're really close together, as you can see in this image. The other thing that's worth commenting about on this image, I haven't put it in the caption, is the relative positioning of their heights. Now, it's not always possible to achieve this, but the perfect positioning, and I suspect some women watching this will say this is a very sexist thing, but the perfect way of lining it up aesthetically, they used to say the woman's eyes on the level with the man's mouth, so you've got that break in height, which probably means if you're photographing Tom Cruise, whoever the woman is, she's going to have to kneel down. No, there are tricks that we do in studio to achieve this, including using so-called apple boxes or little platforms just to raise the heights of people. I've got some that I put down, and they may be only a couple of inches high, and that might just be all it needs just to adjust the heights between the two people. And you can see again here with this one, it's a much more glamour style couple portrait, and again I've got the eyes her eyes on a level with his mouth, and you can see how pleasing a composition that makes. But again, it's heads together on that shot. But it doesn't hold, it's not just for couples, that kind of approach. And here we see parent and child shot, where bringing the faces together brings a unity to the image that makes the image work really well. So think about doing that. When you've got a couple together, bring them together. get the faces together. And even with unusual poses like this one, where he's holding her, by just getting them to touch their foreheads, it just completes the image. It completes that unity with the shot. And again here, this is a kiss shot, and it's not the foreheads touching, but because they're about to kiss, the faces overlap, and it's that sort of thing that you really want with it. But what about groups? Well, if you've got more than 2 people to pose? Well, the general rule is a rule of triangles, and I should have put a few more images in to illustrate this, but the idea is you put the tallest person in the middle, typically, and then the others working out. And here we've got a sort of triangle effect. You can see how we've got a line up there and a similar one down here with it. So we've got that kind of effect on there, working with triangles with groups. And even if it's just a group of 3 here, now ideally with this shot I should have had the man in a little bit closer so we haven't got this gap in between. And again, I would ideally, and it's quite an old shot, this was it's over 10 years old, this shot, because it was from before I had the studio. Ideally his head would be much closer to hers with the child down below, but forming this inverted triangle in that sort of image. Now, I want to now, having talked about couples and groups like that, I just realised there was another groups one I meant to put in here, which was all about organising large groups. And the way we do it is we organise people into small groups and then organise the groups of groups and sort of build it up that way, but difficult to explain without the images on there. I want to talk about posing for men, because we talked in the previous one just very, very briefly about poses for men, particularly the idea of the difference between masculine and feminine head tilt. Masculine head tilt is where the head tilts away from the camera, feminine is towards. And for a man, it's always tilt away from the camera. But what I wanted to talk about is hands specifically tonight. And something to avoid, first of all, is this hands buried deep in the pockets, like that. It just doesn't look good. What you need to do is, and this isn't a good pose, he wasn't very relaxed when I suggested this, and it was the only pair of images I could find where I got hands in and hands out of pocket. But the trick is, instead of hands buried into the pockets, just link the thumbs in the pocket, and that's a much more pleasing thing. But he's not relaxed in this shot at all for it, but that looks so much better than just losing the hands completely in the pockets. Another one, again, he wasn't comfortable with this one, is the idea of the adjusting the cuffs shot. It's usually done with a jacket on, and it's this little tug of the cuff, and it brings the hands up into a position that you can see. You can just tug it in like that, or like that. For me, it would be that way. And again, it's something to do with the hands, because let's face it, blokes, we never know what to do with our hands if we're having our photos taken, do we? We never know whether to go like that or behind our backs or whatever. So having something to do with them is always a good thing. And like I say, with a jacket on, this little tug on the cuffs is quite a good one to work with. Another one, if you're doing the more sort of male glamour type shots, the open shirt shots, is this idea of just holding the shirt, hands on the shirt. In this case, it looks almost as though he's taking it off with that open, and he was moving as I was taking the shot to get a little bit of action in there, and that's all part of the of getting that sort of feel. Yeah, he professionally he is a male stripper, by the way, this that guy. So he was used to finding poses with his clothes half on, half off. Another one, I say about hands, we just don't know what to do with them. So work with props, and any model who's struggling to know what to do with their hands, give them something to hold. Now this is a trick I learned from theatre, in that there's an old theatre trick where there are some people who act, who talk with their hands. Now I gesticulate with my hands a lot, as you will have seen on the live streams. But on stage, people with their arms flying around as they're talking is very, very distracting. So what we do to try and stop that is give them something to hold, and that keeps the hands under control. So we do that sort of thing on stage, but I'm transferring that into the studio, into a portrait shoot. If your subject doesn't know what to do with their hands, give them something to hold. In this one, it's my model had a gun over his shoulders. I think it was a gun, or was it a sword on that one? I'm not quite sure. With that, here is another one. Actually, a really good model on this occasion. Didn't need much help with what to do with his hands, but I use it to illustrate the idea of the boxing gloves, which meant it's a much more natural thing to have a pose, a reason for holding the hands in a particular way with the boxing gloves. And it's also about sort of creating a character and a backstory for the person. So with this shoot, we did a whole series. I'm actually showing you them in those two out of sequence. We did this series of the story of a boxer, where the first few shots were like this, where he's just getting ready. He's putting the bandages on his hands before putting the gloves on. He's getting ready for the fight. And that was the thing that he was concentrating on. It gives him something to do. It gives a character, it gives a thought process. Then there was the posed shots of him fighting. And then we thought, well, there's two ways the fight could have gone. He could have been the champion. So we did shots with the hands raised, the champion pose and things like that. And then we did the defeated boxer ones, where he's sitting in the chair, battered, bruised, gloves discarded, taking the bandages off. And so it gave a backstory to it, which helped us create the poses and for the person to know where to sit, how to sit, to think about the emotion on the face as well. And that's all part of creating the pose for this kind of shot. And the other thing that's worth saying is you don't always have to have your subject looking at the camera. Again, a great character model here with Graham, and he's created this Wild West persona for this one, along with the shotgun. And instead of looking at the camera, he's just looking off to one side. But it's more of a sort of portrait style. The next one is a story behind it. Again, he's looking away from the camera. See, he's got something for his hands. He's holding his hands, which gives a reason for them to be up, so that one of the key things with posing, as I've said a lot, is you don't cut through joints. And one of the problems, if your person's just got the hands down, is where do you put that crop to try and avoid cutting the arms off. And having something to hold means he's got a reason for his hands to be up, but he's looking off to one side. What's he seen? What's he seen off to the side? Is that the reason he's holding the gun? You can see that thought process in his head. And it's really helpful to people if you're doing this kind of shoot to try and talk about that backstory with them, about what's he thinking of. He's holding the gun, right? You're looking around because maybe there's somebody out for you. That's why you've got the gun there. You're getting it ready because you're going to be attacked. And this is a Peaky Blinders style shoot. So next, this is a general rule, particularly for female models. And I've got that message again up on the screen. YouTube not receiving enough video. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, if it can bend, bend it. And Strawberry Venom here is the absolute expert at doing that. She just knows the poses to do it, and just about every joint is bent in that shot. So generally, get people, if a pose looks awkward, it's generally because some of the limbs are straight in it. So think about bending the joints in your poses. Now, sometimes we want to break the rules. I said when I did the first talk on posing, never ever have your subject looking straight into the camera, straight on. You want this modified full face where there's an angle, they're looking one way, the face is pointed off at an angle, but the eyes are towards the camera. And that is very flattering for most people. However, you can also do the straight on to camera, but you have to do it sparingly, and you have to do it where it works. And where it works is where you've got symmetry. So here in this shot of Rachel holding the candle, you can see there is a symmetry bang down the middle. It's this perfect case of repetition. Either side of the image mirrors the other. So it then works. If she'd turned her face slightly to one side with that, we shouldn't have put a bang in the middle because because that would have broken the symmetry on it. This works because of the symmetry. And again, this is another almost symmetrical, but we've got a twist to it in that Rihanna's hair is only on one side. It's only coming down on one side with it. But generally the pose is symmetrical. The arms are symmetrical. The hand holding slightly different. One hand is obviously covering her breast, and the other is hiding the breast because of holding the mask on there. And that works because of that. It's about breaking the rules of composition, as we were talking about last week on there, for an effect. Props, as you saw in that, help make an image, and sometimes the props are what we can use to really, how can I say it, create the character, really, to create the backstory. So here with model Page, oh, I can't remember the name. We were doing a vintage shoot, so I got an old-fashioned wooden rolling pin and told her the backstory is housewife waiting for husband to return home, holding the rolling pin, and that enabled her to get the right expression for it, the right pose, the arms folded, the rolling pin in there, and we created a character, and the character led to the pose that we wanted. I want to talk about a technique here. I've only really got the one image to illustrate it, which is quite frankly rubbish, actually, because I need a lot of images to illustrate the point, but hopefully you'll understand it. And it's a technique I use in the studio with models. I do it often when I'm shooting one-to-one, and I've done it as part of group shoots as well. I call it photo brainstorming. You know how brainstorming works in a business meeting, where the idea is everyone throws out ideas. It doesn't matter how silly, stupid they are, you just keep throwing them out over a short period of time. And the aim is just to get as many ideas and thoughts down on paper in a shorter period of time. And then you review those ideas and you cross off the stupid ones, and you're perhaps left with 2 or 3 which are really worth investigating. So how does this work with photo brainstorming? Well, we don't do it with a whiteboard or a flip chart or anything like that. We do it with props. And the way we do it is you give your subject a prop. And it can be a really silly item. We've done it with, I did it once with a toolkit. I said, right, go. I actually think it was the same shoot as this photo comes from. And I said, just this toolbox, just do with it as many things as you can. It doesn't have to be sensible. Many poses as you can with it. And the model comes up with some, the photographer shouts some out. So the toolbox one might be, right, you're holding it up and you're just peering into it, or if it's an empty toolbox, you might have it on your head, or you might be fighting to open it, or you might be kneeling down, selecting a tool out of it, or something like that. And very, very quick fire. You do an idea, a pose, click, get the shot, move on to the next one. And the idea is to try and get as many as you can in about 2 minutes. And you're not trying to get the perfect shot. It doesn't matter if the pose doesn't work. At the end of that time, photographer and model review the images together. And you'll go through and go, what were we thinking there? Oh, that's possible. Hey, I like that. Nah, maybe. Oh, and I like that one. Definitely like that one. That's the one we want to do. And then you look at it and go, okay, if that's what we want to do from this, what do we need to do to make it really work? How are we going to light it? Because typically with the photo brainstorming, we just fill the area with light. We're not thinking about lighting. We're just thinking about poses and ideas at that stage. So then look at it and think, okay, with this one, we did it with the boxing gloves, and she did various things with them, the standard poses, but she did this pose with the hands over and she tilted her head right down, looked out at the top of the eyes, this mean look. And we thought, wow, that really worked. So what we decided to do with it was to enhance it further. I think, right, how are we going to light this? Well, we're going to rim light it. We'll have a bit of forward light on there to make sure we've got light into the face, but we want this rim light to really bring the hair out and a black background on it. And we built it up from there, literally from brainstorming ideas. And that's how we came up with the pose, and how we came up with the backstory and the character and all that with it. So that's photo brainstorming, something to have a think about and perhaps incorporate into your shoots if you work with a subject. I've put this one in because it's something that people often don't think about with their photography, and that's the idea of shooting profile. I do it quite a lot these days because as you know, I'm a huge fan of rim lighting with my photography. And the idea of rim lighting is you've got the lights coming from behind over the shoulders. And I know that with that lighting, if I turn the front light off, the only way I can get light onto the face of my subject is to shoot them in profile. So that's what I did here. I think I'd got some front light and I turned it off and I just said, right, just look at one of the lights at the side, look straight to the wall. and that gave this effect. So the idea of rim lighting going into profiles is worth looking at. And again, we have the problem, and I've now got a spinning clock on there. So don't know whether you're still hearing me, folks. Right, anyway, let's carry on regardless. Another thing to be aware of when you're working with a subject is just be right, okay, there's several people now talking about buffering. Right, I'm going to just have a look at a setting on here and see what we can do. So just bear with me a moment, folks. I'll just put this on here so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can follow it. Settings, output. I'm going to reduce that bit rate down. Right, let's try that. See whether that will do it. Right, okay, so I've changed the setting. Let's see how we're getting on. I've still got the error message coming up at the moment, and I don't know quite what the cause is of this, because I don't think it's to do with the bit rate that's going out. And what's my processing power? I've only got 10%, 9% processing power going, so it's not to do with the PC being overwhelmed either. So gonna have to have a think about this one, about how we deal with it. Right, yeah, it's buffering quite a bit as well, because I can see now you're a long way behind me on this display. Right, anyway, I'm just going to type, oh, right, you've got to the, I think you've got to the point where I was at, where I was trying to fix it. What I was saying, one thing to just be aware of with the, when you're doing a shoot, is reactions and natural reactions, which means when I'm holding my camera, I'm talking with the model, what I'm doing is I'm watching for their reaction. I'm watching for the for them to laugh, watching for them to react. And here in this shoot, we've got very much a reaction shot on there. Right. I'm just seeing how far behind this is, and it appears to be quite a long way behind at the moment. So, one thing I can suggest, folks, if you are buffering at the moment and it's not watchable, something you might want to try is just dropping back a little bit from real time. And you can do that by hitting pause on the playback. My cursor's in the middle of the photos. Oh, no, it's up on a different screen at the moment. Right. No, I can't see the cursor in the middle of the photos. One of the things that you might want to try doing is to pause your viewing for 30 seconds, a minute, to allow the buffer to fill up. And see whether then when you restart, you carry on working. Right, okay. John is saying that he can still hear me, and it seems to be a bit better at the moment. So I think all we can do is carry on at the moment. on that. My apologies for this. I'm going to have to do some more tests on this to try and work out what on earth's going on with it. Right, let's carry on best we can. Yeah, be ready for the reactions. So here again, fun shot where I can't remember what I'd said, but there was some banter going on, and model Honor May just laughed and gave a big thumbs up, at which point I was ready with the camera and got the shot on there. And sometimes you can do things to create a reaction. With this one, I was giving her more and more ice cream cones to hold. So it was going to start running down her arms as the cones melted. It was actually squirty cream, so it would melt anyway. And I got her just to put a little bit on the end of her nose, and the whole thing, she just started giggling a little bit. And I was able to capture that reaction, that natural reaction, but we'd set things up so that that things would happen that she would react to, and that it would be a fun shoot for her by doing that sort of thing. Again, you could have somebody else talking to your subject, and you can see here in this one, I think I've remembered this right, in that the other photographer I was with was further round and was talking to her, and they were just laughing and joking, and I got my shots at that point. So having somebody else talk to your subject can give a natural reaction as well. So just they forget about the camera, and because they're no longer posing per se, they're relaxed. You get that natural pose, that natural reaction in there. Again, here, it's sometimes, the phrase I have, it's about doing, not posing. So when you get somebody to pose, you're thinking about them being static. Instead, this one, there was this big chain, and we just said to her, right, just give a big pull on it. Try and pull it out. Come on, you can do it. You can move the chain. And she was laughing and giggling, and we got the reaction that way. I've talked about breaking the rules, but I want to also talk about keeping the rules as well. And that is, these are the rules of composition that we talked about last Sunday. So if you haven't seen last Sunday's, go and watch that, because it's all about those 3 rules of composition. In fact, I think I'll talk about a couple more on this, but it was 3 last week, which was rule of thirds, lead-in lines, and framing. And you can use that with your portraiture and your posing as well. You see here, I've actually got the model looking against, this is Karen R, facing the wall, head leaning against it and looking at the camera. And I've used negative space of the wall and her and put her on the 1/3 line to create that particular image. I'm just seeing a strange mark on my screen. I don't know whether it's on. It is on the output. That's weird. What's... Oh. No. There appears to be noise over... I wonder whether this might be to do with our buffering problem. I'll put this over here. This is going to be a bit tricky for me to try and illustrate, because you can't see the mouse cursor on here. But there is an area, a square here, that's got a lot of noise in it, and it's moving noise, and that's going out on the stream. Weirdly, we've now got no buffering. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Right, I'm going to have to do research, but something looks really odd with that. Right, yeah, lead-in lines. Have I got it on this one? Yeah, it's there on this as well. Oh, I know what it is. I know why there's a line there. That's a green screen issue. So if that's going on, that's not truly blank. That means it's going to have to do a lot more compression and send more data out to get the image out there. Right, okay, I've got something I need to work on with that. But sorry for that slight distraction. Right, lead-in lines. This was another one that we looked at, and I showed this image previously. And we've just used the hand as a lead-in line to the image. And it's a very natural pose with the hand where it is. And I've used also a slightly wider angle than I would normally to distort this so that the hand and the arm provides that lead-in effect on there. Framing, again, I showed this one last week. Using tight shot, the arms act as the frame on it, on the left side, the top and the right with that. And again, we've got another form of framing here. The framing is the scarf and the hands at the bottom of the image, but coming in really tight for it with the hands up actually makes the image work. And this one's more about strong diagonals, but you can argue lead-in lines as well, with the hands in that position sort of leading you in towards her face, but it's also rule of thirds from where the face is positioned. So think about those composition rules when you're composing your image, because that can affect the pose that you want. So the pose and the composition really need to go hand in hand. And I think this is the last one, but if you're working with silhouettes and the poses on there, they are all about shape and outline. Remember what I said about if it can bend, bend it? And here we've got a really good outline on there. This is where we would use profile as well with silhouettes, because a face, unless it's in profile, doesn't make a good silhouette. You just get a blob, basically. Yeah, right. So let's move on. No further questions other than these issues with the live stream, which I definitely need to do some more work on to try and sort out. So I'll have to have a look at that during the week. It's starting to get to me now, this live stream buffering stuff. So nothing new in the chat, I don't think, on there. So no new questions. So that just brings me to the end of this, the wrap-up point for it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for persevering through the buffering and the issues that we've had. I'm going to go and have a look at it myself on YouTube and see what I saw or how it appears on the YouTube recording versus the local recording, see whether there's a difference on there. So thank you for your questions and comments on there. Thank you to those who've been buying me cups of tea. I've seen at least one, possibly two, come in during the live stream. I saw a couple of things flash up on the screen on there. So if you do feel you want to buy me a cuppa, the link is down below in the description and on the screen there. And as I said earlier, thanks Kev for tonight on that. And now, drum roll, the member photo of the week. So what's the photo this week? Whose image is it? drum roll, it's this one from Bill Rich. Don't know if you're watching tonight, Bill. Now, if anyone's wondering, some of you may well have seen a very, very similar image of mine to this. And you might look at it and think, hang on, that's one of Ian's images because the splashes are exactly the same place. The reason would be, Bill, the event I was taking this image for, and it was Rachel F, who was the model. What we did is we had it set up so that I think it was in the dark, and we all had the long shutter, and we just set the flash off during the long shutter. I think that was how we did it. But yeah, I have got a very, very similar image to that, but this one genuinely is Bill's. And the reason I chose it is because I've been celebrating the 10 years of Ian's studio this week, and it's I just thought something from one of my events was an appropriate one to put up there, but rather than one of my photos, somebody else's photo for it. So that's the cover image. Well done, Bill, for that. I will put the image up shortly on the Facebook group. So keep posting your images, folks. Will one of yours be the image of the week next week? And talking of next week, Wednesday, we have our weekly feedback session, which is all about, well, I was saying portraiture, but whatever images you've sent me or posted to the Facebook group, preferably emailed to me at feedback@ians-studio.co.uk. But I will give those the preference on that. And next Sunday, it's 1 year on, the first birthday of the live stream. So please don't forget to do the survey. The link should be in the Facebook group by now to go and do it. If you've got any portraits following on from tonight that you want to talk about, post them in the group, and I will give feedback on them the following live stream after that. So thank you for watching, and I have managed to control it all just about from the phone, so that bodes well for my little device. And again, one of the things that popped up during the live stream was a notification from the supplier. I'm hoping it's a notification to say they've dispatched it rather than a notification to say, yeah, we haven't got those. So I shall check that very shortly. So thank you for watching, and until next time, keep making great photos. Bye for now. Right, this is the point I do the cut down ending, so the alternative ending on this. So here goes. Thanks for watching this cut down version of Ian's Studio Live. The full version's now in my Academy. You've just seen the highlights. But my Academy, you can join that by following the links over my shoulder or down below. It's only £6 a month or £60 a year, and you'll get lots of useful information there, inspiration sheets, lighting sheets, all sorts of things. So go and check that out, and I look forward to seeing you on the next live stream, whenever that may be. Depends when you're watching this cut down version, I suppose. So until then, thanks for watching, and keep making great photos. Bye for now.